Alright, what I'm showing here is the Chapter 8 Logos Inventory Workbook, and as outlined in the slides and in the book discussion, this is a fairly complex system. We have events that are dependent upon past events, things like I've placed an order, demand for that inventory is coming in, it's eating away at our current stock, eventually the order arrives along with replacing some of the back orders in place at this retail shop, for example. It's also replenishing my inventory, so we're seeing bumps in that, and again declines in inventory as demand continues to eat things away. So it's a fairly complex system, and things like stockouts and back orders and inventory restocking take place, all dependent upon past events. Here, what I want to do is replicate many periods worth of inventory demand and replenishment. Of course, to start the macro recording process, again, I go to developer and record macro. Maybe I'll save this thing as the old standby Control T key, press OK, and start my work by starting out with a fresh slate, so to speak, with some fixed ordering parameters. So the first thing I would do if I wanted to start off fresh would be to go into the refreshing cell here, in which I would place false and then true, just to reset all of the simulated numbers in this system simulation. And then I want to run through a number of periods, say 200 periods worth of simulated data given the system parameters. So all I'm going to be doing here is pressing F9 200 times. Alright, so here I've started to press F9, and I'm looking at the number of periods as I am hitting this, holding onto this F9 key to make sure that 200 does take place. That information that summarizes those runs, and which you've seen summarized in the graphic as this window has panned through time, is presented in these cells, K32 through 35. Now I want to store that information on another worksheet so that I can compare these results with other sets of 200 periods that I might run for the same parameter or for other parameters, hoping that for the same parameters the results will be roughly the same, and that for other parameters, and I'm talking about things like changing the reorder points policy somehow, or changing the level of demand, which I might be uncertain about, either in the variation or in the average of that level of demand. I'd like to be able to show how these performance measures like inventory levels and fraction of stockouts occurring might vary based on those modifications. So in order to store that information, again, I would just go up to copy, and I'm going to want to paste this information into a separate worksheet, maybe the macro runs worksheet. As you can tell here, I already have some data stored. I've run this thing a couple of times, and I have a spot here in which I would like to place this new information. Now I want to paste it so that the numbers run horizontally instead of vertically. I'm going to go up to paste special, and I'm going to only paste the values, and specifically I don't want them pasted down, I want them pasted across, so I'm going to transpose those numbers. I have that option here, and I'm going to hit OK. And again, only the values, not the formulas, just the values are being copied here in this instance. Now, say I want to set myself up for another one of those 200 period runs, and I want to have space for copying this information. I'm going to want to insert a row. So the Alt-I-R key sequence allows me to do that, or I can go up to insert and row and accomplish the same thing essentially. But that's all I have to do. I can stop my macro recording at this point. Now, to check to make sure that everything's working correctly, I'd want to press the Control T to see what I get. And lo and behold, I have created a new set of 200 runs. That information was recorded exactly where I wanted to record it. I have a new space for a new record. And furthermore, if I wanted to observe the actual simulation, I'm giving myself a graphic so that every time I hit that shortcut to the macro, that graphic is provided to me as well. In addition to that, I have on this workbook a couple of items that we'll talk about more later, including the button here, just a simple graphic of a circle that I've assigned that new macro to. So instead of pressing Control T, if I don't want to have to remember that it was Control T that was the macro executor, I could simply place a button somewhere on my workbook to start that same macro. We'll learn more about that later on in the semester.